morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my friend and teacher, David Maria. Good morning, David.
Hi, Kathy. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad to be with you again, and so glad that the energies from the solstice have finally decided, at least in me, to settle down for a while because it's been woohoo for a little bit. Oh, probably a week. I mean, I can get stuff done and I'm grounded, but it's woohoo.
I think the key word there for you is for a little bit.
Okay, takes one to know one. Okay, so so David, today we get to talk about the class that I've been so privileged to be a part of, called Freedom from the Known. And I'd love for people who may not have seen us talk before or are new to this opportunity to reconnect to who they really are, for them to get an idea of what how this journey has developed. Because I can tell you all, I've been on this journey over a year. I don't know, a year and a quarter at least.
Somewhere in there.
I don't know. It's 11 times 7, 77 weeks, almost 80 weeks. And I am not the same person. I don't think the same way. I don't have the same worldview. It is amazing. And I don't have words to explain it. I wish I would have journaled all along while I was doing this so I could say, oh, that one's gone. Oh, that one's gone. But so basically, you guys, freedom from the known means the known programming or your worldview that you have gleaned as a child or even as an adult as the way that you navigate this reality. And you can be free of any part of that doesn't serve you anymore. Yippee, celebrate. How do you even say that? So David, why don't you talk about how this all came to be, so people that may, even if they have heard you before, they'll get a sense of how this is still, it isn't a course that you do. It isn't a course that you, David, create and just it stays static. It's an ever evolving, expanding experience. Correct?
It's quantumly expanding, yes.
Yes. So I'll let you have the floor. But anyway, you guys, it's fabulous. You need to do it. That's all I can tell you.
Thank you, Kathy. So, just really, really, really short version. In 2018, I was called through multiple prophetic dreams to journey to Africa, to Kenya, and specifically to Mount Kenya. And I was, through those dreams, I was called by various individuals that in my dream they appeared as ancient African kings. And it turns out that I met some of them and received an activation, an opening, and an initiation as part of that, which was really just a destiny point for me, something that I had been waiting for all of my life, which is, most people would agree that I'm not a spring chicken anymore, or a young chicken. And out of that awareness of what came when I received all of that information, that was the opening to the very first class that is offered, which is Awakening Your Original Soul or Soul Blueprint. From that, it is expanded into a journey into an awareness and an awakening of who we are as a soul. So everything is predicated on the fact that we already are who we are. And on top of our soul as we come into incarnation in this and other lifetimes, we receive and inherit, if you will, energetically from our parents, from our culture, from our religion, from our racial characteristics, whatever piece you want to think on, and we end up just piling layer upon layer upon layer in front of our direct awareness of who we are. We no longer can see ourselves, just like you can't see me right now. And basically, what the course is designed to do is to help you a piece at a time at whatever pace you are comfortable going with, to begin to strip away all of those layers until what you're left with is the direct perception of who you are and who you have always been, which is you are a fractal of the creator. In actuality, you are the creator. There is nobody that is not the creator. And you can use any word that you want. It doesn't matter to me. You can call it a word in religiously, if you wish, or you can call it source, or you can call it God. It does not matter. Any word that we attempt to use is a word attempting to describe something that is completely inevitable, cannot be described, cannot be put into words, and cannot be understood at all through the mechanism of our normal mind. And so the class is designed to walk you through a series of steps, a series of guided steps, which are actually meditations. And those meditations just take us deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the reality of who we are, and the rediscovery, of the remembering of who we've always been. We've just forgotten. And so the class has evolved immensely. Initially, when it first came, we were working with just ourselves. That turned out not to be a big enough container to be able to work with. So now we work with our families. We work with our ancestors, with our familial lines. And we don't just work from our familial lines in this particular lifetime, or families in this particular lifetime, because we've all lived multiple times. And so we now carry that into the entirety of the incarnational stream of the journey that all of us have been on, whatever that is. It's a unique journey for each one of us. And yet there are commonalities, or there are common threads that run through that. And so we work very deeply quantumly to clear anything and everything that it's possible to have come up and be released. And one of the really fun parts, at least for me, is that I get to go through the class at the same time that I'm sharing it. So I'm in the wonderful position of still being able to learn, to still being able to grow, to still being able to shed layers. So that's the very short synoptic version.
Well, what I've noticed, because I have done it so many times, is I've watched as people, like their third time through, how they break open. I mean, I don't know them when they start, so there may be a bunch of incremental changes that they might not even show, because of we're on for 2 hours, and an hour of it is a meditation time. So it may be that I'm not watching them incrementally, but to watch people's hearts open and to see them become courageous and being who they really are, and in childhood delight of it, is just remarkable to experience. And I just wish everyone could have this experience, and look at the world in a can-do kind of way, rather than in the other restrictive and non-creative. Really, it's following in the rules and the lines. I mean, I'm not saying you don't perform like a regular human, but your expanded worldview allows you to have creative solutions and creative mindset that expands everything in your life. It expands your all of your judgments seem to melt away, and you learn that every single person in your experience is a gift and a lesson in some way, rather than projecting stuff or feeling like you have to have boundaries everywhere. This is like, oh, you're here. What are you here to teach me? Rather than being on guard. And so is that something you would say also, David?
It's the difference between we have errands to do and maybe we're going grocery shopping or we're going to drop our car off to have it
Uh-huh.
serviced or whatever, rather than looking at it as just being that errand that we're going to do.
Mhm.
There's another way to participate in that whole process, in that we're going to go out and we're going to make new connections. We're going to meet new people. We're going to meet, in essence, at a very high level, we're going to meet ourselves in another person, and we have the opportunity to be able to be with them and interact with them. We have the opportunity to not hide. We have the opportunity just to be perfectly present in the moment as we are, and whatever light is coming through us, that light gets shown on the person that we're interacting with. So it 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 completely changes your reality when you understand that everything in front of you, everything inside of you is your creation.
Yeah.
There isn't anybody else doing anything to you.
Right.
Nobody's doing anything to you. The government's not doing anything to you. Other groups are not doing anything to you. It's not happening. Everything in your life is your creation, and what is in front of you is what is in front of you. And therefore, it changed when you understand that. It really changes your perspective,
Right.
because you understand that it's not about quote unquote another. There are no others. And if your life, the way that it's currently being lived and the way that it's currently showing up for you, is not what, if you're not happy with it, there's no outside force that you can bring to bear to change it. It's you. The change has to come from inside you.
Yes.
Excuse me. Your change has to come from inside. You're the one that has to change. And as you make those changes, as you shed some of all of those, or as many as you're able to, of those false layers on top of you, whether that be old programming, from your parents or from your culture, whatever it happens to be, as you let go of them, you just emerge, and here you are as you.
Right.
And it's always wonderful to see people show up as just as themselves.
Well, what's interesting is I took Avatar 19, almost 19 years ago, and had a spiritually transformative experience when I took the wizards class. And part of that whole training is they call it source list, and you spend a long time. Some people spend a whole day trying to get through the source list, but one of the phrases on the source list is I am source. And so many of us that are walking this path, we can say that, but this is an experiencing of it. So it's not intellectual. This is your field expanded to a point that you can call in things into it, but it's a experience versus an intellectual activity. So much of the quantum physics work. Nassim Haramein says that there's a black hole in every cell in your body, and it's connected to the galactic center, which is also a black hole, and that's the oneness glue and all of that. Well, that's still just up here. That doesn't really help you in your day to day as you navigate all these changes and all of these emotions that are coming up to be cleared as change is happening. It's forcing us to look at the world in a different way, and that's what I wanted to explain. Is so many of the energy work and the concepts, the power of thought concepts are totally different than this experience. They may get you to a part of this experience, but it isn't as this is a different state of being because you clear so much that's in your field that restricts your capacity to see. So it's almost like your senses, it's almost like you gain more than your five senses through this experience. And then you have access to so much more information to use in your game. This is a game, right?
It is a game. So the short explanation is that this is not, this course and all of the classes that surround it is not an intellectual understanding.
That's right.
It's you're not going to college to be able to learn information. You won't receive a degree, although you may end up being the degree. So one of the things that happened to me when I was in Africa the very first time, and it's changed a lot, but the very first time that I was there, when I returned home, I was living on the Oregon coast in a little tiny town called Yohatz at the time. I sat in my living room for the next 3 months, just staring out the window. I didn't do anything. I didn't work. I was currently at that time, I was still working as a web developer. I didn't pay any of my bills for 3 months because I was incapable of doing anything. I was just in a phenomenally altered state of very high consciousness, and it needed time just to begin to integrate. And even though that piece went on for almost a little over 3 months, I still wasn't done, and I'm still not done. I'm still cooking, just like all of the rest of us. We have uncooked seeds. And there is a wonderful quote that I really love by Ram Dass that says that all spiritual practices are illusions created by illusionists in order to escape the illusion. I absolutely love that quote.
Yes.
Because it just, whatever you've got going, myself included, it just pulls the rug out from underneath you. And a perfect quote to go along with it is one that the Tibetan master Trungpa said. The bad news is that you're falling without a parachute. The good news is that there's no ground underneath you. And that's really what it's like. So anytime, this is why I don't really refer to myself as a teacher, is anytime you think you know who you are, the rug gets pulled out from underneath you immediately. And the closer you are to whatever it is that will happen when you finally break through to direct realization, I don't think anybody anymore becomes self-realized. I don't think there's ever been a person that has become self-realized. And the reason that I say that is because that realization is always, always there with us. It's always there. The moment that your layers fall away, there it is.
Yeah.
There you are. It's always there. So can I assist somebody in going through the course? Can I assist them in releasing those layers? Yes. Is there anything that I do to make that happen? No. It happens of its own accord as you go through the course. Yes, there are practices that are designed to be able to shed your fear and your shame and guilt and unworthiness and whatever other program that you have going on, and that's within the context of every single cell in your body, black hole in the middle of it or not. It's in every single cell in the body. And as far as a black hole in the middle of every cell connected to the black hole in our galaxy or our local sun, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the universe could easily be described as a place that has no boundaries and whose center is everywhere.
Yeah.
So you are, quote unquote, the center of the universe.
Wow.
Think back when, before Galileo's time, when we were absolutely positive that the Earth was the center of the universe. Well, that's true. But so is every other planet.
Well, yeah, that's what we're saying, is that you start to look at your environment in a totally different way. You start to choose in a different way, and you take a different responsibility of your life, and and it's very magical. It's very synchronistic. It's amazing how fast, once you decide and you can be truly present, that things change. I want you to know, Noelle and Bob, let's see, that she wrote, Noelle, I think, wrote, actually, that sounds like A Course in Miracles, getting out of the illusion. And
I've never read The Course in Miracles, so I have no idea. I'll rely on you, Noelle.
yeah, well, I think that a lot of people, there's all different ways to get to this place, and I think people know when they hear your voice and they sense the energy if you're their teacher. I know, here's Joanne Palladino. Hi, Joanne. Yes, there's no need to achieve to be fully realized, as David shares, the center of the universe. We are all Shemaya. Love and light to you, David, Kathy, and to all. Thank you, Joanne.
Thanks, Joanne.
Yeah. So my my hope is that people get an experience of your frequency during our interview and have a curiosity enough to sit with it and see if this is a path, because it truly is. It's called freedom from the known because it is about freedom. It is about the liberation of your reality from fears, phobias. It can be generational fears that you were imprinted with when you came in, up to 32 generations. It can be everything like that, that's running behind the scenes that you didn't consciously choose, right?
Most people run on autopilot.
Yeah.
They have their own set of imprinting that has gone on with them.
Mm-hmm.
They live their lives according to unconscious programming that is running in them. And if you truly wish to experience who you are behind all of the eggshells and the compost and the garbage that you haven't cleaned up yet, if you truly want to know who you are, you can't use anything that you know in order to be able to figure that out. You can't use any of the tools in anything. It doesn't work. What really and truly all that happens in the classes is that people shed their layers, and as those layers get shed, there they are. They step into the realization of their own awareness, their own direct awareness, and they stand in their presence. And when people come to classes, one of the things that I was going to share earlier is that when you come to a class and we interact with each other, we form a circle, we bond energetically with each other. Within that context, I can see everybody. That's one of the gifts that I have. And not only can I see who you are, I remember who you are. And that's part of the energy transmission that comes through that gets given to you. Does that mean that I'm special? Absolutely not. that would be a cruel joke on myself, because I'm not different than anybody else. I'm really not. I'm just folks. And
Well, you are okay. Well, I'm going to preface this a little bit because David has done the work so that his field opens up to a. When I did a reading for him, he looked like a galaxy. He didn't look like a human. I mean, I've done for 23 years, I've been doing these readings, and that was the first person I've ever seen that looked like that. So,
you saw just a little tiny part of me.
I'm sure. But anyway.
But that doesn't make any difference.
No. What I'm trying to explain.
That does not make me special in any
No.
way.
What I wanted.
Nor does it make me different from any other person on the planet.
Okay.
Because that's who everybody is.
But when you open up your field and get your human out of the way and let that expression open up, it activates our remembrance of our being that. And it helps us clear the shadow or the obstructions. Saint Germain calls it obscurations, that are in our field that don't allow us to look at the world and this whole experience from that perspective. And that's what I'm saying. People clear so much. You don't have to relive the trauma unless you choose, you want to go through the story, but it's not necessary. And layer after layer after layer, and we're talking about 32 generations or more, are in your field because it's imprinted into your DNA, that is released if it does not serve you now. And so each time we do these classes, I've never taken a class this many times. It's not really a class, it's an experience. And so the expansiveness is profound. It's permanent. You can't go back to sleep afterwards. And I'm so grateful for it. So I just want more people to come and play with us. That's all.
That is my wish too.
Yeah.
And if this conversation, if the words that are being spoken, if what you're hearing and what you're feeling resonates inside of you, if you're feeling a yes, then please come join us.
Yes. So Blessed by the Best wrote, "This is a beautiful conversation. I saw David in Soulology." What a synchronistic thing that is that she said that.
Well,
and Bonnie Berg is here, and she said, "Hello, good to see you guys." So if anyone has questions for David, you can see I'm manning the system here. If you do have questions, fire away. And if they're appropriate, I will ask them for you. The other thing I wanted people to know is this feeling of community. I mean, lots of people have been on Zoom for years now, and some communities have lost a lot of luster, have lost a lot of their focus. And what I want to say is this community that David has created in these groups really feels like family. It's not that I'm not going to be trite and call it soul family. It's another reunion, though, of beings. And when David starts the meditations, usually there's lots more beings that are in our community that show up, either students that are going to be coming later or that have been in our group before, or other beings of light that want to experience and grow with us. And so it's quite, when we say quantum, it is not a rational mind linear experience. It is an expansive opportunity to get out of your mind, get out of the safety net that you've built for yourself, and see what you can do and fly. So, do you have any comment about that?
Yeah, just when we do the meditations, they are guided meditations. There is a core structure, if you will. I'm going to use air quotes. There is a core structure that is there in every single one of them. They are always different, though, and the words that come through that are used, those most of the time, what their function is to allow the mind of whoever is listening to just relax and go with the flow. Because that is not the very essence of what the meditations are. The very essence of what they are is an energy transmission that comes through. The words are the carrier, and I know lots of people that are guides and teachers that know this truth and experience it in their daily lives. Is that I never know what's going to come out of my mouth. I don't have a clue. It just, there's a transmission channel that opens up and it begins to come through, and it contains words, but the words are just the carrier agent that bring the energy through. In a lot of cases, or some cases, people with overactive or hyperactive minds, they may get involved with, am I doing this right? Am I visualizing what he's saying correctly? Am I understanding it? Yada, 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 whatever it might be. They're engaged mentally or intellectually with the words. A lot of times they get just taken out. They go to sleep. And the reason that happens is so that the mind can just be taken offline momentarily and allow the full energetics of the transmission to come through. There are more than a few people that have come to class that's their typical experience. Every single meditation that we do is they get taken out and then they wake up just as the meditation ends, and they still get it. They still receive it. It may not be part of their conscious mind, but they still receive it energetically in the body. And that is where the deep work happens, is in the body. So remember, we're not ascending in the traditional way that we have known of as ascending, where you wake up, you remember who you are, you become realized, and you drop your physical body and go back into non-physical, go back into spirit, and then continue to function as an ascended master. That's not what we're doing now. That's the old way. Since we made the shift back in March, what happened was that enough people on the planet, and it doesn't take a whole lot to be able to make a shift like this, but it still was difficult work. Enough people on the planet made the internal shift in their consciousness that it changed the trajectory of the collective, which is really difficult to modify because it has its own momentum. It changed the trajectory and allowed all of these new frequencies to be able to begin to come in to where everybody has access. Everybody. There's no one that is being left out, has access to the energies to remember who they are. And if you're experiencing them, you know that they can be quite amplified at times. At other times, it can seem like it's a very wild ride that advice needs to be given, like keep your hands and feet inside the ride at all times. But it's still this amazing journey that we're all on. And what is really happening is that as we clear all of the incorrect or false programming that is in all the layers in our auric fields and all the programming in our cells, as we shed all of that, we purify our physical vessel. And as that happens, the vibration of the body rises. And because it arises, it allows the soul to come into the body. And now we live embodied in the physical. This is unprecedented. It's never happened in the. It's phenomenal, the opportunity that everyone, doesn't matter who it is, that everyone is being presented with the opportunity to make that shift. Will everybody do that? I have no idea.
Yeah.
It may not look like it's going to happen now. Then again, there are lots of people living on the planet that have never had any exposure to spirituality of any kind, ever. They've not read any books. They've not met people that share concepts or spiritual truths outside of that person's perception. And they are just as awake, just as present in the moment as the most enlightened spiritual master that you can conceive of. So who knows what it is? Do I think it's going to be an immense flash that all of a sudden everybody on the planet simultaneously awakens? No, that doesn't feel like it's going to happen, because everybody has to go through their own changes, whatever those are, strengthen their nervous system. Most people really don't want to experience awakening because it has the potential to burn your nervous system out.
Yeah.
I've experienced that, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to be able to do. And yet again, what is it that I know about what's coming? Well, I don't have a clue. Tomorrow, millions of people could wake up in the morning and go, I think I'm going to be completely different now.
Well, that's how it can happen. But this is an opportunity to shift your perspective where it's not so disorienting. When I had my spiritually transformative experience, I was so disoriented from that expanded point of view, and had difficulty even explaining it. And have spent all this time, 19 years, working with it every morning. Because it was so out of context. Whereas that's why I want to reassure people that you can still do your day job and do this on the weekend, and you'll do your day job better, with more joy and with more of you present. The gift is presence. and presence in a powerful, loving way, not presence as in power. It's a different, it's a presence of grace.
It's a blessing to be able to be allowed to wake up in your own time or remember in your own time. The world's mental institutions are filled with some of the greatest geniuses that exist on the planet that woke up too soon and their nervous systems could not handle it and they became non-functional. So I'll give you just a short experience from my life. So when I went to Kenya the very first time, it was turned out to participate in the annual prayer vigil that circumambulates around Mount Kenya. It's an all-day affair, and it's a really big to-do within the context of Kenya. When we arrived there were like 7 or 8 TV stations and things like that, and then I hadn't even received the transmission that I received yet. It was just we walked into the crowd, and we walked in and joined the crowd, but we weren't allowed to do that. They came and got us and pulled us up front and turned us around to face the crowd. It was both humbling and very embarrassing all at the same time. And then I met Samuel Kamitha, who was the seer that was there to lead the invocation for the prayer. And he was the man from my dreams. Wow. And he looked at me and smiled and said, "David, I dreamt of you." And I looked at him and smiled and said, "Samuel, I dreamt of you also." And on the outside, I was very calm. On the inside, I was just an absolute jumble of energies. So after the invocation was over and people were, what people do on this journey is they stop 7 times as they circumambulate around the mountain and they offer prayers. So everybody was going off to begin that process because it's an all-day affair. It takes 7 hours to drive around the mountain. And immediately, all of these TV crews showed up and they stuck their microphone in my face and said, "Why are you here?" So I'm still like this. And I have no idea what I said, none whatsoever. But apparently in that moment, I had the gift of tongues, which meant I had 13 tongues and they were all speaking gibberish in different languages at the same time. And very wisely, none of the TV stations used any of that footage on their news channels that night. I have no idea what it was. And the energy hadn't even really started yet. I hadn't been pushed over the edge with lightning bolts, which was going to happen momentarily. So it's a really good thing to be gentle with yourself, which the course is like that. We take it a piece at a time. We don't break off great big chunks. I don't encourage people to do collective chunks, like going into the collective consciousness and trying to take on something and be able to resolve it. That's too much, especially to begin with. If it happens, it happens. If it happens on its own, it happens. Therefore, it's part of your inner guidance system. But mostly, it's very gentle work that everybody can benefit from the clearings that go through, and not just the clearings, but then the deeper rememberings begin to come in terms of who you are and who you've always been. So.
Yep. Your superpowers come in.
But how grace works, I have no clue as to what each person's destiny is. I only know what mine was and what those experiences were like, and I've just barely touched on a little tiny bit of them, really and truly, because they continue to evolve.
That's the other thing. I don't know that there's that many teachers that would admit that they're getting upgraded right alongside their students. So you can see there's a humble humility here that is uncommon in most of the teacher-student environments. Um, so, David, talking about this time right now, it seems as though there was not a coherent energy in the field, was people were starting to wake up to the contrasts that are been running for the past 2,000 years in on the earth, and now it feels
28,000.
how many?
28,000
Oh,
for the last 8 months.
okay. Well, I was thinking, okay, great. Correct me. That's perfect. Well, as you do. Um, but what I wanted to reassure people is that there's some sort of upgrade that we've all gotten for those of us that are sensitive or aware of it, that just happened during the solstice. It seems as though we've maybe um, reached a tipping point, because it's not that the energies aren't going to keep escalating. It's more that there's more people involved in holding the fields of light. Would you speak to that? Do you feel that, or is that just my imagination? Do you
No,
feel?
it's not your imagination, and more people are beginning the process of remembering who they are.
Yay.
And some may be in the very early stages. Some may be at the stage to where, like, just using myself as an example, where something has come in and they've received something
Uh-huh.
and they're really excited to go out and share it. And it's very humbling to be a person that shares these experiences. There have been so many teachers over the centuries that have remembered that every person that they meet is another version of themselves. Every person that they meet is also source, is also the God that is everybody. And they've stopped teaching because one of them was asked why they stopped, and they said they explained all of this and then said, who is it that I would teach? And so that's why I say why I prefer to just say that you come to these classes, and I share what it is that comes through me. And like Kathy said, once a class begins, my auric field has the ability to just open really, really big and allow these frequencies to come through. That may be the only thing that I ever do. I honestly still don't comprehend what it is that happens. I do and I don't. There's a great mystery that's involved in that. And it's very humbling. It's very humbling. It keeps you right on the ground all the time, and it doesn't allow a whole lot of wiggle room to be able to mess around. I used to joke. One of my good friends that lives in Denver. He was blessed to study with a real honest to goodness teacher for 7 years. And when it came for his moment to jump off into that endless void that we all come to, he did so with no hesitation and not once ever looked back, not once.
Wow.
he just jumped and didn't turn around. So my joke, in terms of laughing at myself, has been to share that story along with the Old Testament description of Sodom and Gomorrah, where God tells Lot and his wife to leave and says, don't turn around, because if you turn around, it'll mean that you still have an attachment of a fondness for that, and you'll turn into salt. And my joke has been, well, one could always use a little salt.
Well,
Except that's no longer relevant for me. That's no longer relevant for me at all. There is no turning back. You can't do it. You cannot put new wine into old barrels. You can't do it. It just doesn't work. And when I say you can't do it, yeah, you can do it. If that's the choice that you want to make, it's okay. It doesn't appear to be possible for me to do that anymore. So I only use the joke as a way of just completely laughing at myself at the ridiculousness of some of the things that I go through. And as Kathy knows, I always share those ridiculous foibles about myself in the class.
yes.
That's what I mean when I say that I'm just folks and I'm not any different than anybody in the class. I know that I'm different, but at the same time, I'm not.
Okay. Well, I want to go back to what we were talking about as far as so the audience has a feeling of the opportunity to live a joyful life. There's so much in the field that's been building up to alien invasion and this and that, and everything's they call it an inverted matrix, because the truth, it looks like it's real, and or excuse me, the truth looks like it's false, and the real looks like it's, anyway, it's inverted. And it's been confusing, so that we had that, and we still have that, so that people will be more discerning and really feel into, does this feel right? Does this not? But do you see anything that you'd like to share? And then after that, I'd like to share your website. Okay.
So we are moving into what many have referred to as the creation of New Earth. We've completely moved into the age of Aquarius, which is the total end of the last epoch of 28,000 plus years. It's the complete end to the old patriarchal way of doing things, and now we're moving into what has been prophesized by every group that you can imagine. Throughout all of history, we're moving into what is going to be 10,000 years of the golden age peace. And yet none of us that I know of really know what that's going to look like. And the reason that we don't know what that is going to look like is because we are the ones that are going to create it. It's being built in each moment. And this is why it's important not to spend your time looking back, not to look back to the old. There's nothing there. It is collapsing. It is disappearing. It may not be happening as quick as everybody would want. It may not be happening to the degree that everybody wants, but that's because it's a choice. And the new earth is already here. Because it's not a place, it's a frequency, it's vibrational. And there is not just one version of that, there are multiple versions of that. And they're all frequency based. And they all interpenetrate with each other. So you can be the most enlightened present person on the world, still standing in the middle of 3D, but you're not experiencing it in the same way that somebody else experiences 3D. And what is that new earth going to look like? The only words that I can come up with is we are incapable, even in our wildest imaginings, able to understand how amazingly beautiful it's going to be. Because again, it is a world based on consciousness. It's a world based on spirit. It's a new world based upon pure love, and each and every one of us contributing the love that we bring to it, whatever it is. And we are the ones that are not only going to create it, we are the ones that are creating it.
Yay.
And with all of the new people beginning to remember who they are, then if you have a deeper knowing of what's there, then your work becomes to be able to work with whoever comes to you, whoever presents themselves to you, whoever comes into your field, to the love that you are, that you just share that like and share it with them. Sometimes it involves a lot of verbosity, like I love to do. And other times it doesn't. Other times it's just sitting in stillness and quiet and just sharing your light and your energy. Then never forget you are creating the new world. You are the new world. If you wanna attend a Stargate and go to an opening, remember you are the Stargate. If you want to open a portal, remember you are the portal.
Yep. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen. Thank you. That was perfect, and I love the optimism part of it, because it seems that
It's already here, and
yeah,
for all of the people that are just really anxious that we have to heal the earth, the earth is already healed. The
that's
earth is
right.
the earth is fine. Will there be people that won't choose this because everybody has free will? Absolutely.
Yes.
Somebody wants to repeat the third grade, they're welcome to repeat the third grade. They
Yes.
won't be left behind. Nobody will be left behind.
Yes. Whoever designed this game was brilliant. That's all I know. Okay, I'm going to share your website here. I want to make sure that people, I have been putting David's website. It's called the EdenTemplate.com. And then there is a tab for classes on the navigation. And once you click on that, you'll get to this. And David, one more time, we're on the the Freedom from the Known class page. So I'm just going to scroll, and here's what Maureen Moss said. David Maria is one of the most authentic and wise beings I have met. His care for friends, students, humanity, and Gaia runs deep. Some call him a great seer. Others call him a true master. ... He is both. And this is from Maureen Moss. So, and here's, do you want me to read any more of them, or?
This is your show. You're running it.
Well, I just want people to see the site, and you'll get, your soul knows that your fastest path to your joy. And for me, I'm so lucky that I found this path. The next class starts July 8th, and we now have bonus round. So it's now not an 11-week course, it's a 12-week course. And if you go to this page, you'll get to see the names of the meditations that are go through each week. But there's so much more than these words that are shown here. So I just want to make sure. Is there anything else you want to say, David, before?
There's a new class that is being added to the course, and I'm also going to offer it independently.
Oh, okay.
And that new class is involved in not looking back, like we've been talking about for a little bit. It's a class on death and dying,
Wow. Cool.
and which is really and truly, dying is easy. You don't even have to show up to die. You don't have to be present at all. And at some point, your body's going to die. But we have birth and death reversed. We're completely backwards. We're upside down. So just think about what it's like as a spirit. You decide you're going to come into incarnation, and as a spirit, you have access to your full, true multidimensional awareness.
Okay.
And then you contract. You take birth into a body. You contract very small, and one of the first things that happens when you pop out is that you forget who you are, and your multidimensionality gets removed, veils get put in place, and you forget who you are. And then when you die, you drop this contractive form and you go back into the phenomenal expansiveness of living in spirit. Your full multidimensional awareness returns. So we literally have it backwards. So dying, learning how to die consciously and dying in each and every moment.
Wow.
So that we're not hanging on to who we were yesterday or who we were 20 minutes ago. We're present in this moment, which is really the only moment that there is. There is no past. If you have a past, I challenge you to show it to me.
Well, I think it's been hard to find the past anyway. It's almost like when you're trying to recall someone's name or a name of something, and it's back in 3D, and it takes the Rolodex a little while to come forward. So I don't think we have access to all of it anymore anyway.
So a class on death and dying is really a class on living in the present moment.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I missed that last class, so I have to go listen to it. I get to go listen to it. I can't wait. Thank you so much, David. Again, you want to let everyone know how they can find you?
Well, the best way is either through my website, theedentemplate.com. You can find me on Facebook. I'm usually around, not always, but it's not uncommon that I post there regularly. And you can also meet me in dreams if that works for you. There are more than a few people on the planet that have contacted me over the years that have said that I came to them in their dreams and just looked at them and said, "You're ready."
Oh, wow.
And then they would contact me and say, "What does that mean?" and I say that with all humility, because that has happened to me also.
Yes.
Where others have come to me and told me that I was ready.
Yes, it's perfect. It's perfect. Well, thank you so much. And I hope this actually brought a little curiosity to you if you are looking for a way to live a joyful life, that this is a path that I recommend and I'm on. This is not someone talking out of school. I'm on my set. I just finished my 7th time taking this class, and it's better each time. So come join us and see what life really can be like from a higher perspective. So thank you, David.
And let's not forget that this October I'll be coming to Boulder, Denver.
Yeah. We'll talk about that next.
Yeah.
Okay.
So blessings, my friend. Thank you, everybody that came today. I'm so grateful for your presence. Thankful for everybody that watches the video later on. So
thank you, everyone.
Thanks.